I'd like to welcome you to my morning devotion. This morning I'm reading from John chapter 12, beginning with the 20th verse. It's taking place right after the raising of Lazarus and after the triumphal entry. And so now we are in this precious and important week in Jerusalem, where the tide will turn. Where the tide will turn and people will begin to shout, "Crucify him," and they will reject Jesus for who he is. But right now, in this early part of this week, we're hearing a different story of people who have experienced that triumphal entry, of people who have heard the story of the raising of Lazarus and are wondering and questioning, and what does this mean? And so we read from John 12, beginning with the 20th verse. Now among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, "Sir, we wish to see Jesus." Philip went and told Andrew, and Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor." I love this story, and there's an importance to it. The Greeks are some people who are outside of the people of God, and yet they're seeing and hearing something in Jesus that has gathered their attention, and they are seeking this word of hope. But when they come to Jesus, instead of saying, "Won't you come and be my disciple?" he begins to talk about his own passion and death. What does it mean to follow Jesus is to understand that our relationship with him comes through the cross, through the death, and through the resurrection. Jesus said, he talks in farming imagery, and he talks about unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. And he talks about how he's going to die on the cross, but with that comes the opportunity of life for all people. So now what will you choose? What will you choose? Will you choose to follow this one whose time has come, who's in this fullness of this week? We will celebrate and recognize that servanthood of Maundy Thursday and the crucifixion of Good Friday, and the Easter hope of the resurrection. And that Christ is one who comes to us. Christ is one who comes and brings meaning and purpose and calling into our lives. In this important time, we talk about what does it mean to follow Jesus. How do you follow when you can't even get together? Well, there are ways. Many of you are still at work because you're needed. And you're right there hearing the concerns and the anxieties. I think about all of our nurses, and I think about the doctors of our community, and I think about those who are respiratory therapists and those who are doing that essential work to help people in need. Not just with the coronavirus, but with all of those other concerns that where we are afraid because we have been given a diagnosis of something that makes us feel like things are out of control. It is these servants of God who bring hope and compassion and love, and where they are, Christ is. I want to give a shout out to Bobby Mitchell. Bobby did something generous the other day. She posted on her social media that if anyone is looking for an important service or good service to celebrate, to worship, and to enter in to this experience with God, she recommended our service. And she spoke, wonderfully of me as well, and I'm grateful for that affirmation. But the important thing is as she's watching her people, as she's sharing with her lives as a nurse and she's feeling that anxiousness, and as are her colleagues, she's posting it out there. Hey folks, if you're interested, let me introduce you to Jesus. If you're looking for something, here's a way in which you can find it. And then she shared the post of our Palm Sunday worship. It's something that we can all do. It's a simple thing. And yet it's the affirmation, the words that invite people to consider. And so I thank Bobby for being a servant of God. And I can think of so many others that are doing similar kinds of things. How can we help people see that Christ is present, and that our hope and our comfort, that he is one who comes to us to share with us words of peace and resurrection and new life? We give thanks to God for this holiest of weeks, and I invite you to walk with me as we look through these stories that from the triumphal entry until the cross, as we gather together in our daily devotions. Amen.